Welcome in to the Ravens Rundown, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Appreciate you joining us. On today's show, we are going to give you the winners and losers from Ravens Minicamp. We'll break that down and more coming up in just a moment. But before we do, our question of the day that we want to ask you, do you like Wawa? I got to tell you, I like Wawa. I'm a big fan. But I wanted to gauge the interest, get to know our audience a bit, the folks in Maryland, in the Baltimore area. If you're a fan of Wawa as well, let me know in the comment section if you are. Type WA if you do like Wawa. If not, for whatever reason, tell me why you don't like Wawa in the comment section and name somewhere else that you might like slightly better. Let's start with Lamar Jackson. He is our first winner of Ravens Minicamp. Returned to team activities this week, and he showed up with about 12 to 15 more pounds of muscle this offseason. As he's put on some weight, he's up to about 220 now, in great shape. And he performed very well at his time at minicamp. And contract conversations also occurred this week. So all of that very good news for Lamar Jackson, that he has his head on straight, his heart's in the right place. A lot of excitement about Lamar Jackson right now, and rightfully so. And Greg Roman's changing up this offense a little bit, typically from what we've seen this offense do in years previously. And with a young receiving core, it was important for Lamar to be there to help those guys learn the system and get acclimated. So very good news for Lamar Jackson there. Easy winner for minicamp. Also, another big winner for minicamp, Mark Andrews, the Ravens star tight end who had a breakout season last year. The vast majority of completions that were thrown by Lamar this week went to Mark Andrews. And according to the Baltimore Sun, there was no break in chemistry between Lamar and Mark Andrews this past week. Andrews coming off the best season of his career at this point, and all signs point to that once again that Mark Andrews will be the go-to weapon for Lamar Jackson, that he'll be the number one target, and they were on the same page once again there in minicamp, picking up right from where they left off. Looked like they were in midseason form, so great stuff there from Mark Andrews. Also, staying in the receiving corps, let's go to Rashad Bateman now. Bateman is going to take the role as the new number one wide receiver after the Ravens moved on from Marquise Brown and Sammy Watkins. Now he takes on the leading receiver spot, but he's not necessarily going to lead the team in yards as Mark Andrews is expected to be that guy, but he did receive some high praise from Mark Andrews this week. Here's what Andrews had to say about Bateman. He's running great routes. A lot of his releases, he's getting open at the line super quick. Then he's got a burst of speed that people don't really talk about. Second year, he's a guy that's just going to get better and better. The sky's the limit for him. So high praise there from Mark Andrews about Rashad Bateman. And I got to tell you, I'm excited about Rashad Bateman as he takes on this new role. What will he be able to produce leading this Ravens receiving group along with Mark Andrews? You know, I think Mark Andrews is still going to lead this team in receiving yards, but watch out, Rashad Bateman could make this very interesting, especially as he progresses throughout the year. And if we see Bateman end up leading this team in receiving yards, that's not a bad thing at all. That would mean that he and Andrews, more than likely, would both be having really good years. So who's going to lead the Ravens in receiving? Will it be Mark Andrews again? If so, type Y for yes, type N for no. This is our pinned comment today. So you're about to get an ad break. Take advantage of it while that ad's playing. Get your votes in if you think Mark Andrews will lead the Ravens in receiving. Y for yes, N for no. Another winner for the Ravens this week was Devin Duvernay, the wide receiver for the Ravens, who was terrific when it came to the return game for the Ravens, a Pro Bowler on that front, but now making his presence known as he competes for that number 2 receiver role for the Ravens. Wide receiver coach T. Martin, one of the best college football players of all time, had some nice praise for Devin this week, saying he is much improved from last season, and that's what you want to see in a young player. Mentally, physically, he's taken another step and I'm so looking forward to that translating on the field. So some very good praise there in regards to Devin Duvernay this past week of what he was able to do from Coach T. Martin there. One more winner for you, Kyle Hamilton. Probably the most exciting player for the Ravens, the biggest addition this offseason as they acquired him with their first-round pick. A lot of excitement for what he was bringing to the table this year, and he certainly did not disappoint in his debut of sorts this past week at Ravens Minicamp. We'll tell you what secondary coach Chris Hewitt had to say in just one moment before we do. Speaking of Kyle Hamilton, here's your chance to get your Kyle Hamilton gear before the season begins. And if you buy this now, this is a good investment because you can, in theory, wear it for a very long time. Whether you want a Kyle Hamilton shirtsy or if you want a jersey, we have both those options for you. And the only way that you can get them is by going to chatsports.com/Kyle Hamilton to get your hands on this awesome Kyle Hamilton gear that you're going to be wearing for a very long time. So go ahead and get it now before football season begins. That way you can be looking good when the season kicks off in that great Kyle Hamilton gear. Chatsports.com/Kyle Hamilton. That's chatsports.com/Kyle Hamilton to get yours today. So here is what Chris Hewitt had to say in regards to Hamilton. He's done a phenomenal job. He's extremely instinctive, has go-gadget arms. He's 6'4", agile. He's the total package. We're very, very happy with him. He's learning a new system. He's going to make mistakes. By the time we come around, I promise you that when the first game comes, he'll know what he's supposed to be doing and won't be making mistakes that he made today. He's not an error repeater. He's on top of his job. So, hearing that, you can see that Kyle Hamilton learns from his mistakes, that even when something goes wrong, that he's learning from those situations. That's exactly what you want to hear about a rookie player. Mistakes are going to happen, but the fact that he's learning from them as quickly as he is, that's a great sign for Kyle Hamilton there. So our winners for minicamp, 5 of them, Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman, Devin Duvernay, and Kyle Hamilton are our 5 we selected. There were plenty more that stood out through minicamp, but we didn't have time for everybody. Who was the biggest winner of minicamp? Was it one of those 5 names that we mentioned, or was it somebody else? Let me know in the comments section, one way or the other, if you liked somebody that stood out to you of those 5 or somebody else. I want to know. Give me one name who was the biggest winner of minicamp for the Baltimore Ravens at this point in time. Now, the bad parts, the losers. Let's start out with Marcus Peters. Marcus Peters, this past week at minicamp, increased rumblings that the Ravens could be making a move to let go of Marcus Peters, to trade him off, try to save about $10 million against the cap. Peters, still recovering from that ACL injury, did not take part in minicamp this past week. Of course, he was the 2015 Defensive Player of the Year. If he comes back, there's a lot of high hope for what this defense could do if Peters is involved. But nonetheless, knowing that the Ravens still have to get an extension done for Lamar Jackson, trying to find ways to save money any way they can, Peters could be a casualty, essentially, for the Ravens. They could end up moving on from him in order to spend that money on Lamar Jackson that they need to, with not much flexibility with cap space right now. But not great for Marcus Peters on that end there at minicamp. Also, another loser this week was Justice Hill. The former Oklahoma State running back this week did partake in minicamp, but really was kind of MIA. Here's what I mean by that. With J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards out, minicamp was seen as an opportunity for Justice Hill to really stand out. Remember, he's being viewed as a trade option right now. And yet, with that said, with an opportunity with those guys out and to try to prove himself, all we heard about from head coach John Harbuagh this past week was not about Justice Hill. It was about Mike Davis and Tyler Beatty. Davis, the addition they made from the Atlanta Falcons. Tyler Beatty, the day 3 selection from the NFL draft out of Mizzou. So with that said, Justice Hill, golden opportunity, and just was not around. Nobody talked about him. That's not a great sign. I think that there's a good chance the Ravens will try to trade him or release him. It's not great for Justice Hill. He's coming off the injury last year where he missed most of 2021, and now in this case, not ideal for him. If your coach isn't talking about you, that's not a great sign there for Justice Hill. So that is another loser. We have one more loser to get to in just a second, but before we do, we want to make sure that you are subscribed to the Ravens Rundown. We're bringing you coverage of this team each and every day on the channel. Counting you down to kickoff, we have the offseason, free agency trades, the preseason, you name it, we're on it here on Ravens Rundown. Subscribe now, hit that red sub button, turn on the notifications, youtube.com/RavensTV. That's youtube.com/RavensTV, so you never miss a moment. Our last loser today is the Ravens offensive line. And the reports from The Athletic this week were not very kind to the Ravens offensive line. Indicated that they were dominated a bit by the Ravens defense, that they struggled with some false start penalties on Thursday. The Ravens going through some big changes. They potentially could have a new starter at center, right tackle, and left guard for this season. Let's go ahead and go to this report from The Athletic. This was from Wednesday. Defensive players know not to get close to the quarterback for safety reasons. So instead of pushing the pocket, they focus on trying to bat down the football. Still, there was an abnormal amount of throws deflected at the line of scrimmage in Wednesday's practice. Second-year outside linebacker Dallin Haynes continued to make his presence known, easily beating left tackle Patrick McCarry off the edge. Not great news there for the Ravens offensive line of what went down this week. So I know that time was limited. It was only a few days. I get that. But just hearing all those bits and pieces there doesn't make you feel good, especially considering how this is a run-first team that's going to rely heavily on that offensive line. This week was not a great sign for them on that front. So to recap, our losers for minicamp include Marcus Peters, Justice Hill, and the Ravens offensive line. I want to know, who was the biggest Ravens minicamp loser? Was it somebody we mentioned, somebody we did not mention? Let me know in the comments section who that was, and would love to hear from you there one way or the other. Give me one name that comes to mind of who that biggest loser was from minicamp. So to recap, here are the winners and losers from Ravens minicamp. The winners include Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman, Devin Duvernay, and Kyle Hamilton. The losers include Marcus Peters, Justice Hill, and the Ravens offensive line. Before we go today, minicamp in the books. Now we look ahead to training camp and the start of the season. Go ahead and predict the Ravens' 2022 record in the comments section below. Let me know how you think this season is going to go, where your confidence level is on this team after minicamp. Put a prediction on it, and we'll see you next time here on Ravens Rundown.